to Abstract Cafe, where ideas take shape, thought finds out, and every conversation explores the art of thinking beyond the obvious. And today I have my special guest. She's a culinary herbalist, business strategist, and of course, an author too who teaches people how to scale without sacrificing themselves. No other than Miss Samantha Jones.
Hello, 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 everyone.
Like, welcome, Miss Samantha on Abstract Cafe. And can you please introduce more about yourself that I missed?
Yeah, so I have been working in the dental industry for over 30 years, helping practices to create operational efficiency, scale, grow into multi seven-figure group organizations. And over the course of my career in healthcare, I started experiencing my own health crisis and kind of took myself back to the roots of some early studies that I did in herbalism. And now in my work today, I really incorporate wellness into the scaling process. I genuinely believe that we're able to grow our businesses, personally grow as individuals while still taking care of ourselves and doing really big things. And so that's what I do in my work today. And yeah, I'm a mother of two adult children. I
Mm-hmm.
live in Kansas City. I'm married to my very best friend, and I just completed my forthcoming book, Stirred by Earth, which I'm very excited about, and it'll be launched in the early spring of 2026. So, yeah.
Yes, I'm inviting you to please do
Yeah.
come on my book one review and let's talk about all your books, Miss Samantha. And thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. And today let's talk about flow over force, how to scale business without sacrificing your nervous system.
Yeah.
Let's start with the code idea, flow over force. In the context of scaling business, what does force look and feel like for an entrepreneur, and how does flow present and a fundamentally different operating system?
Yeah. So force presents itself in the majority of businesses that I have encountered, and probably you too. I think when we think about growing a business, we oftentimes we add more tasks and we do things that feel like we're going to grow the business. We add more responsibilities, we add more things, we add shiny equipment, we do all of this stuff where it feels as though the choices that we're making are what's going to bring about growth or scaling in that particular business. And that's not entirely untrue. That happens a lot. In fact, when we do grow our team and we add, you know, new responsibilities and new equipment and new services and all of those things into the business, oftentimes it does grow. Um, but what I've noticed is that we don't have to force it. It doesn't have to be a forceful dynamic. We can add all of those things while still paying very close attention to the way the business flows and how the operating systems are functioning during the course of the scale. And many times, at least in the industry that I've found myself in for 3 decades, is that the force of scale, and when we're forceful in the scaling process and we're not paying attention to some of the outliers, which in our case in the healthcare industry is people. People are who are operating. We're not robots, right? There's a lot of burnout, lots and lots of turnover, making the scaling and growing really hard, forceful, and uncomfortable. So that's where the flow comes in, where we really have to pay attention to how our growth strategy is impacting the operators of the entire dynamic and what we need to do about that. And it does not always have to feel like hustle. And I think that's been the big misconception. And I've personally had to overcome that in my own journey as an entrepreneur of just adding more things. It's not always the best way forward. So
Miss Samantha, the title implies the traditional hustle and grind mindset is a neurologically unstable. What does the science of the nervous system and cortisol tell us about why the force model eventually backfires, even creates short term gains?
yeah, I mean, we see it in the health of the individuals. In my particular industry, we're one of the industries that has the highest rate of suicide, which is an interesting data point because we have this hustle grind culture where, I mean, I talk to team members in my industry often that, they don't even have time to take a break. So, what the science tells us is that we are working really, really, really hard, we're hustling, we're grinding, and we're growing, but we're burning out. We're getting sick. The nervous system will, trigger disease and illness. And then the mental health issues that come along with that are pretty profound as well. It's worth paying attention to, and it's worth redirecting the way that we look at growth and scaling inside of our businesses. And it just is an old conditioned belief that we just have to work harder to grow and generate more revenue and all of that.
Ms. Samantha, how do you help founders redefine progress and productivity from metrics of sheer hours and efforts to metrics that include sustainability, creativity, and strategic clarity?
Well, the way that I've personally that's changed over the years. In truth, when I first started my consulting business, I was very much a part of the hustle grind culture myself, and I would answer that question very differently had you asked me 10 years ago.
Hmm.
The way that I answer that question today is, the very first thing that I do with any founder is I ask them what they want their life to look like. Um, because if we're going to operate from a place of, compassion towards the nervous system, if we design our life first and then we design a business and the operation around that life, everything else feels differently, and we really do have a lot of control over the scaling process, the growth process, and how it makes us feel. So my approach is to do a life design with a founder first. Like, what are we looking at here? What do you want? Do you want to work for another 10 years? Do you want to work for 5? Do you want to work 9 to 3 every day? Or, is your focus more that you want to pay off the mortgage? So if we're designing our life first, and then we're building the infrastructure of the business around that designed life, the results, they don't vary in growth. You still grow, you still scale. You just do it in a way where you are being compassionate to your nervous system, and you feel better, happier, better.
The neuroscience of scaling, Miss Samantha. When a leader is a chronic state of sympathetic arousal, what specific high level cognitive functions are impaired that are absolutely critical for smart scaling decision like strategic foresight and nuanced risk assessment?
I didn't catch the last part of the question. I'm so sorry.
No worries. What smart scaling decisions like strategic foresight and nuanced risk assessment?
What strategic scaling I'm so
Yes.
sorry.
Yes. So what it's a chronic state of a sympathetic arousal when specific high level cognitive functions are impaired that are absolutely critical for smart scaling decisions.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm not even sure where to begin with that. I mean, obviously, there's different things that are impaired in different industries, but I mean, I I think that what I've noticed in strategic scaling and that happening in a space of someone being sort of what I call hijacked in the parasympathetic arena is, I don't think you make the best decisions. I think that the decision-making process from that place of a hijacked nervous system is I mean, everything is impaired. The work that you produce is impaired. The team that you lead is impacted by all of that. Leadership becomes very difficult when you are in a hijacked state of being and you don't have clarity around just even your own internal dynamic. From a scientific standpoint, our bodies they don't perform the same when we are supported and nourished in the nervous system. And so everything becomes difficult. I've seen time and time again. I remember just recently I met a physician who was wanting to scale, and I mean the level of stress that this man was dealing with just made it impossible to make the simplest of decisions for the build out of a building. Just picking fixtures for the new building that he was trying to build was complicated. It was hard. He couldn't do it. It was just like just was paralyzed completely. And it's because there's fatigue inside of the body around all of the decision making that takes place in leadership and as a founder. That I mean, I don't know. It's hard to say. Everything is impaired when you are operating from a hijacked nervous system.
Miss Samantha, can you explain the concept of cognitive bandwidth and how the culture of stress and overwhelm literally shrink the mental capacity needed to solve complex scaling problems? Mm.
Um, yeah, I think that what we need to pay attention to is that the way that our bodies are regulated or dysregulated is a component of many different things. First and foremost, I know you mentioned early on that I'm a culinary herbalist, and so the cognitive bandwidth for an individual who is going through a growth process or scaling, I mean, you have to have a lot of it, right? There's a lot of different things that we're dealing with as we're growing and scaling as a founder. Certainly, as the outliers, the team members, everybody else as well, but the founders bearing the brunt of that. The cognitive bandwidth that it takes to be able to withstand that and do it in a way that doesn't disrupt your mental health is significant. And so, for me, what I'm trying to do with founders is make sure that we have a routine, a ritual, a baseline of, we'll just call it the sexy buzzword of self care during the process of scaling, so that we're protecting our ability to have an expanded bandwidth as we're decision making, growing, and scaling. Um,
Ye-
since we're a podcast, it's hard to disclose all of the science behind, how significant it is to manage the cognitive function, just even if you're not a founder. But certainly when you are, you cannot ignore your body, and what it's telling you during that process. And there's a bunch of different things that we need to be doing while we're in the process of the scale.
Miss Samantha, as a culinary herbalist, business strategist, and author too, what are your short term and long term goals?
My short-term and long-term goals. Well, I would say that I'm in an interesting place right now in my own career, in my own business. As I mentioned, I've been 3 decades in the healthcare industry, helping to create strategy there, and that's been great. But through my own advice to others, I've recognized the direction that I'm taking. So in the short term, I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm still very active in the healthcare space, and I will continue to help support there as a business strategist. But my big short term goal is launching this book that essentially is a it's a cookbook ish, with it has tons and tons of recipes that highlight certain herbs, but really I'm paying attention to the different body systems. So if you're someone that's dealing with a certain condition or issue, I have food and recipes that are going to support that particular condition or issue. So I want to get that into the world. I really want to share that message that we have a giant medicine cabinet in our kitchen and we should use it as such. And I'm hosting retreats and workshops and all kinds of good stuff, sort of teach how we really amplify the constituents and medicinal properties of plants and herbs and all of that. So I'm making this pivot right now from being in the corporate setting as a business strategist, and I'm really focusing on the wellness side of it because I have seen the magic that happens when we take really good care of ourselves and then we bring that into the workforce and into our teams and into our businesses.
Good luck to your goals, Miss Samantha, and looking forward for more success. And what will be your piece of advice for those people out there who want to be like you?
Yeah. So, well, I would say this: if you are wanting to launch a business, or if you work in a business, or any of those things, um, I I would tell you to pay very close attention to your body. Let your body talk to you, listen to it, learn how to listen to it, and allow that to be sort of your practice for, tapping into the intuition and all of that. I think that no matter what, no matter if you're just trying to get healthy or you're trying to add, 4 million in revenue to your company, if you operate from a space of uh, grounded, centered, healthy body and mind, the growth, the scaling, all of that is inevitable. It's just absolutely inevitable. So I would tell you just to start there. If you're wanting to grow in any capacity, start like deep within and become really good at listening to the mind and the body so that you can continue that path of growth and keep on keeping on.
The mind and the body, for sure. And thank you for that recommendation, Miss Samantha, and for the advice. And tell us challenges and integration. What about during a genuine crisis that demands an all hands response? How does flow over force principle apply when there's a fire to put out?
Yeah, well, when there's a fire to put out, it becomes really difficult to be in flow. I think that most people find that, and being in the industry that I come from, there's a lot of fires all the time. It feels like so. There's a lot of different things that we can do in those moments to still stay grounded and to not allow our nervous system to be overtaken by that. But again, that's also a really good opportunity for you to really pay attention to your body. If there is a fire, pay attention. What is your body telling you? Is your heart beating faster? Are you sweating a little bit? Like, do you have butterflies in your stomach or a stomach ache? What does that look and feel like? That's a good, perfect opportunity to really start to learn the way that the body and the mind are interacting with the exterior world. So I would use those fires as fuel to really begin to understand the way your body and your mind respond to fires, and then do what feels good in that moment. One of our most accessible tools that we have in those moments of high stress is our breath. The breath is everything, and we just never give it any love. We never give it any thought. We do it unconsciously. And the breath is a very, very quick, easy, accessible nervous system regulator in big fires. So there's all kinds of really great breathing exercises. I prefer box breathing myself in high stress moments. But for me, and a quick podcast, I would tell you that in those moments of high stress and the fires of our life, pay attention to what your body and mind is doing and what's happening there. Learn it, and then find what feels good to bring you back to center and to regulate. And the breath is a really good tool for that.
Indeed, breathtaking. So Miss Samantha is highly recommended. And how can a founders use technology and tools to outcome force and engineer flow into their business operations?
Yeah, well, gosh, I mean, leveraging technology to create flow is something that I talk about with owners and founders all the time. And with AI, it just feels as though that's such a supportive dynamic to creating a working environment that does have flow. So I would say that, in particular in my industry, I've seen many different technology modalities that just simply make our work easier. And I don't think we need to be afraid of that. I think we need to lean deeply into that. We need to use it to our advantage so that we're able to create more efficiency and remove some of the cognitive load that we are so people dependent on in business, and instead, allow. I mean, I'm a big advocate for AI, and in my particular industry, it's in every single piece of technology that exists right now. It's in our X-rays, it's in our phone systems, it's everywhere, and people are pretty opinionated and nervous about it. And what I have to say about that is that I think if we can embrace it and recognize it as a tool to do some of the busy work that does bog us down and stress us out, it removes this heaviness for our creativity bucket, right? And that's what I would love to see us all tap into. When we can be creative, we are just in flow. So if we can use technology to diminish some of the cognitive load of the day-to-day work side of an operation, then we get to be creative, and that's when we experience flow.
Yes, people embrace it because this is the breakthrough of the 21st century. And Ms. Amanda, before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people. My other podcast, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, and my book one on review in sixth season too. Comedy 101 in third season, Food 101 sixth season, and Geography 101, Love Letters, Movie 101, Music 101, our fourth season, Science 101, Sex 101, second season of my baby podcast, Law 101, Mental Health 101, Bible Verses 101, and coming these December, Entrepreneur 101. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So, Miss Samantha, For the founder listening who is in the verge of burnout but terrified to slow down, what is the one small permission giving to step that they can take tomorrow to start choosing flow?
Well, first, I would tell that founder you're not alone, and it's going to be okay. And I would advise them to just sit with a cup of tea in a quiet space with a pen and a paper and write down what they want their life to look like. And then start asking yourself, what can I do about my situation right now with what I have? And I think those little baby steps are the big catalyst for the big moments in our life. So slow down. It's okay. Everything's going to be okay. Write down what you want your life to look like, and then take one little baby step towards creating your business to really enhance that designed life you desire.
Baby steps indeed, Miss Samantha Jones. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your business, your advocacy, your books, or any projects that you're doing right now?
Yeah. So, yeah, so check us out. Our website is here. I would love to connect and meet new people and help them find ways to stay healthy while they're growing and scaling their businesses. So reach out on my website. You can find me at createwise.com.
Yes, keep healthy, people.
Yes,
And Miss Samantha, I'm inviting you to please do come over on Book 101 Review and let's talk about all your books. Yes, people, let's support Miss Samantha Jones because if you support her, for sure, more and more empowering advocacy will rise. So, Miss Samantha, thank you so much for your time.
thank you. Have a great day, everybody.
Monica, people, see you soon.